we've talked a lot about this in between media this season. There's going to be curveballs coming your way.
Hate's a strong word. I dislike Kirk Cousins more than probably any other quarterback in the league.
I get a little bit of that rookie-itis,
I would have said, I would love some of what you're smoking.
Even though I'm straight, I'm still stuck between an interpretation, what it all means. Can I make a difference or something different? My mind in prison, then I saw the vision. Played the field, it's no competition. Found success through the repetition. If it's impossible, stick to the mission. I'm just cruising through on my way to get it. I found myself somewhere in between. Yeah, I found myself somewhere in between. Found myself somewhere in between. Yeah, I found myself somewhere in between. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
So one thing that really sets us apart here is we're not afraid to talk about other things that maybe aren't super fantasy related.
Do what you can to become a better person, to become a better human.
All right. And here we go on another episode of the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice as well. Guys, it's already Tuesday, August 31st, the conclusion of summer. If you're wondering where it went, it's gone. The conclusion is here. Guys, this is the final episode of the off season. If you're tired of seeing us before, you're going to be even more tired here moving forward because we're weekly here on out, guys. So super happy to be doing that with you once again this season. It is season 4 of the podcast, or season 3 of the podcast. So super excited about it. Tonight we got Gary Zamarripa, our new co-host on the show. Gary, what's up, brother? How's your summer been? It seems like your kids have been growing like weeds, man. I think one just graduated and the other is heading to high school. Is that right?
No, she's already a junior.
Woo!
Not crazy? I don't even want to admit that.
Man.
Yeah,
Time
no
flies.
kidding. Time flies in the summer flu. I can't believe you're already talking about, the fall now, the end of August. I mean, this is, I don't know. It's just the way it is, I guess. Time goes quick when you're having fun.
Yeah. It's been a busy summer here for us at the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, at In Between Media as a whole. Just dropped our draft guide a couple weeks ago. So if you need some last minute draft advice, I have a couple redrafts coming up. My 2 home leagues are this weekend. So I'm super excited about that. If you need some tips, all-ins, busts, anything like that, rankings, we got you covered in there in the draft guide. Head over to inbetweenmedia.com to check that out. A lot of busy stuff here, guys. Nate, you've had a busy summer as well, man. You and Jen have been kind of traveling around all over the place. You and Jack and Jen kind of exploring some horizons there.
Yeah, man, we've done some mountain trips. We did 2 weeks in Mexico. We've got 2 weeks coming up in Mexico in 2 weeks, actually. From today, we leave. Wow, that's crazy. And then Canton, Ohio, of course, for the Expo, which I got to hang out with you at the Expo. I know you were there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, I mean, Expo is just another, crazy chapter of the summer and the off season. Met a lot of awesome people in person for the first time. Met a lot of new people in person for the first time as well. And guys, someone we're going to bring on the show tonight is actually someone I did meet at Canton, Ohio. Super thankful to meet this person. He's a veteran in the fantasy football industry. Tonight, we're going to bring him on, learn a little bit about his backstory, his brand a little bit, and then we're going to go into everything you need to know heading into whether your redrafts are done or whether you have a couple redrafts left, what you need to know. A lot's kind of shaken out in this last week or so. Quarterback battles have been won and lost. Cuts have been made like crazy today. So we're going to break it all down, guys. But first, I do want to bring in our guest for the evening, Mr. Dale DeMott of Eat Sleep Fantasy, one of the best-selling podcasts out there. Mr. DeMott, how are you doing tonight?
Doing all right, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. I don't do many podcasts just because of time constraints and stuff, but I'm happy to be on with you guys. I love what you guys are doing over here, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you tonight, Dale. Could you tell us just surface level, where can we find you? Where can we find your work, Eat Sleep Fantasy?
Yeah. Eatsleepfantasy.com. It's a website. And really Twitter at EatSleepFF. We're most active. And on Facebook, the normal social media stuff. We'll download our podcast anywhere you can download podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And are you mainly focused on redraft fantasy football, every kind of aspect of fantasy football, or?
Yeah, we're a little bit of everything, mainly redraft. Don't do a lot of dynasty. We touch on it here and there. Really, it's just talking during the year. It's just ranking players, pretty much, helping people sit start, ranking players. We're expert on the expert consensus on Fantasy Pros, and so we kind of walk you through week to week what things look like, give you some news, the generic stuff. We try to have fun while we're doing it. Just FYI, we are an explicit podcast, explicit lyrics podcast. So for the little ones, it's probably not great unless you guys are, just willy nilly with what your kids listen to, and that's fine too. But yeah, so we like to have fun. We're a couple guys that just kind of we just saw a little space in fantasy football that we didn't think was prevalent, and that's just kind of BSing with your friends talking about fantasy football.
Awesome. Well, I want to learn more about Eat Sleep Fantasy. We're going to do that in our first segment of the night, guys. Weekly advice this week. I'm very proud to announce it is presented by Stevens Quality Barbering Services. Once again here, guys, if you're in need of a quality haircut at a quality price, and if you live somewhere around Center County, Clearfield County, Indiana County, Jefferson County, heck, McKean County, Pennsylvania, wherever you are, whether it's Western PA, Central PA, guys, head over to Stevens Quality Barbering Services in Kerwinsville, PA. You're going to get a quality haircut. You're going to get a quality conversation at a quality price. I've been going to our guy Noah for almost 7 years now. I've watched him grow a successful business and really become one of the most reputable barbering services in the state of Pennsylvania. So if you're in need of a haircut, guys, I go there. You can't see our guy backstage, Kyle, but he goes there as well. So make sure you check out Stevens Quality Barbering Services. Again, in Kerwinsville, PA. That's our guy Noah up there. He'll hook you up just right. Let's get into some weekly advice.
Weekly advice.
All right. As mentioned before before the ad read, Dale, you are one of the veterans in the fantasy football space, man. Can you tell us the backstory a little bit about Eat Sleep Fantasy? I feel like a lot of people, whether it be just the general fantasy football consumer or someone else in the industry, can get a lot out of it.
Sure. Let me first say just about the barber stuff. I got a haircut today. I'm telling you, definitely go see Noah, because every time I go to get a haircut, I just get the first person available. That is the worst advice. I know you guys are trying to give good advice. The worst advice is just going and getting the first hairstyles. You can tell within like 20 or 30 seconds when you're getting a good haircut or a bad haircut. You could immediately tell. As soon as I sat in the chair, I was like, man, I didn't get a good one today. And so now I have to live with this for like a month until it grows out, but it's all right. So yeah, Stevens Quality Barber Services, definitely if you're in the area. I suggest, again, giving you some life advice, find a barber and like stick with him or her for forever.
That's good advice.
And hopefully it's Noah.
Yeah.
It's a long flight for me to get a haircut.
Hey, wherever you are, just go get like a staple. Like you got to get somebody, you can't get them too young because they're, maybe flighty. They're going to move around. You got to get somebody like in their mid 30s that are just settling down. That's not going to move around. And then you're stuck with them for the next 20 years. That's what you need. But anyways, I'm sorry. So you asked me.
That was awesome. That's good advice.
Yeah. I'm trying. I guess, I don't know if you would really call us veterans. We started planning in 2015. We launched in 2016. And again, it was just, a couple of my friends that were just sitting around were like, there's the bigger, we're talking about ESPN, CBS, all that stuff. There's those, and they were, a little afraid to curse because sponsors, and obviously they're big names. They don't really need to, and, they're more professional. So we're just looking for somebody, like us that, hey, where's a podcast that's not afraid to have a penis joke here or there, or talk about each other's moms or whatever. So that's what we did. We're not doing it to be different. We're just doing it like, hey, there's not, and I don't know if I should say this publicly, there's not a lot of big planning. We kind of have bullet points for our podcast, but then really it's just talking to each other. We all do our own research. We all love fantasy football. and hopefully we're right more times than we're wrong. So that's basically the origin, I guess, if that's a story at all. I don't know.
No.
It sounds, I love that. The idea of like that organic conversation amongst friends. People want to hear that.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that's something that draws me into different podcasts when you get to have that.
Sure. I mean, there's something for everybody, right? I mean, I think I was talking to Seth last week about it. There's music for everybody, right? If you listen to country, it's okay to not like hip hop. Like, it's okay. Everybody likes different things. And so, I mean, you could look at our iTunes reviews, over the years. Definitely, there's a lot of people that don't like our style, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. But the same way it goes for everything. Some people want straight facts, and that's cool. I'd listen to a couple of podcasts like that. Some people want, a little bit of fantasy talk and some entertainment, and that's. So there's different tunes for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we're kind of a different tune here a little bit.
Definitely.
And because at the end of the day, like we can spit as much fantasy advice as we can. We do it all the time on our social medias, on our website, here on the podcast. But at the end of the day, like there aren't enough times where you actually get to sit down, have a general conversation about something a little bit bigger than football. Dale, one thing that I feel like is really measurable with your guys' podcast is just the success you've had in the last 5 or so years. Can you talk a little bit about, like, a lot of people sometimes don't see all the work that goes into making successful, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a brand, website, whatever that is. But can you talk about a little bit about the work that went into that to kind of get you guys where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and just speaking off my experience, I know there's a million ways to do it, right? And I'm not saying we're the most successful. I mean, I think that can come, out of context. This conversation can be driven a million ways. But for us, it was just being consistent. Doing what we tell listeners we're going to do. If we're going to be on every Monday for whatever, or if we're going to be on every Thursday for advice, we're going to do that, and we're going to be consistent for them. And really, at the end of the day, it's the consumers and the listeners that drive your content. So if you do what you say, I think everybody's going to be happy. If you say, hey, we're going to put out one podcast a week or one podcast bi-weekly, whatever it is, and they know when to expect that, I think that's half the, that's half the battle right there. So for us, I feel like it was just consistency. I feel like there was like a little bit of growth hack too when we first started. We grew fairly quick for whatever reason, but then on top of that, we ranked really high on iTunes, and that helped. And then word kind of caught out, and now we're kind of still kind of stuck in the middle, I guess. But we're having fun with it. We're not as consistent as we used to be. Things died down. Over the years. People get different jobs. This isn't our full-time gig, so people are in and out, and it's a fun hobby.
Dale, what do you think? And I would love to open this up to a group discussion too. Like Nate, you've been in the fantasy football industry for more than a year now. Gary, you've been more than a year now as well. Dale, starting with you, like what do you think you've learned the most about yourself, whether it's professionally or personally, from being in this industry?
I don't know if it's not industry specific, but it's just podcasting in general. I consider myself a big time introvert. I hate small talk. I mean, you can, going back to the barber thing, like when I get a haircut, I want to sit in the chair. I don't want to talk. I just want to, him or her just cut my hair and get out of there. Like, I hate small talk. And so over time doing podcasting, it just through reps, it's kind of taught me how to have conversations like an adult. Like I just didn't have that ability, I mean, meeting, my girlfriend's parents, when I was younger, like I just didn't talk. I always thought, hey, the less you talk, the, less you can get in trouble, is how I kind of was brought up. So over time, I mean, just doing the podcasting, it's how that aspect of like my personality has come out a little bit, into my own, so that probably more than anything, just getting reps on the microphone and talking and learning how to talk and learning how to carry conversations. Like that stuff didn't come easy to me. A lot of people have gift of gab. I definitely don't, but just, through doing it over the last few years, it's kind of helped me do that. And it's helped me in real life.
So I'll go next. It's interesting because when I started doing all of this, Dale, I felt the same way as you. Like, and Jen would kind of dispute that because I got really good at talking to her friends because I became really close to them over the 15 years we've been together. But like the idea that I would ever do any of this, actually put myself out there, that was never me.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I met Seth and I started doing this stuff, all of a sudden here I am. I learned I'm actually not that bad at this stuff. Like I can carry myself on camera and over voice. And maybe there are some people who disagree with me, but for the most part, I feel like I'm pretty decent at this. And with the frequency that I'm doing it, like it's that I'm doing any of this and that I'm a writer. I think that's the thing that I learned the most out of this is I can write. I'm really not that bad at it. Who knew?
That's awesome.
I didn't. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, really, it's just putting yourself out there and, getting to know yourself. Like, without podcasting for me, like I would never have had the practice to have all this, the small talk or, I've done a little bit of writing, so I wouldn't really speak too much on what you were saying, Nate, but, for talking, like there's no other excuse for me to talk this much in real life. So, forced me to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and do it. And then after doing it for a couple of years, like, okay, I could do it.
Yeah, well, like Gary, I mean, you've been doing more and more of like the podcast type stuff now.
Right. So I've kind of been one of those people who does have the gift of gab. Like if I'm sitting somewhere and if I'm with total strangers, I was on a gondola ride with this couple at Disney and I'm sitting in there with my kids and I was just like, okay, just don't talk to them. You don't have to talk to everybody you see. I'm saying this in my head. And then I was like, I just couldn't help it. I'm like, oh, I can't, and I started talking to him. Next, we had this great conversation because we were in the same little bubble thing together, so it's like kind of was uncomfortable to not talk for me. So we had a nice conversation, found out they were there. They had the grandkids were there and they brought them out and et cetera, et cetera. And it was just a nice talk. So it's kind of funny that from what you just said, Dale, it's like that I'm the exact opposite, but I'm kind of nervous kind of doing this anyway. I think being on camera is kind of a tough thing for me. I don't really like that, but like you're saying with the reps, the more you do it, the less nervous you get. And it just, and it's actually fun. I mean, I like coming on here and talking with these guys and almost everyone I'm on pods with, I'm friends with too. So it's like, you were saying with your buddies on your pod, you're hanging out and you're just talking trash to each other. And that's what we would be doing if we all lived in the same place. We would just probably be doing it down at the pub or something, and just talking about football and talking trash. So here we are.
The thing about being nervous, and I think about it all the time is like, yeah, we can delete files or whatever. But for the most part, like this is stuff that's going to be out there for a while. Like what you say and what you do is like, there's a little permanency to it, right? Of course, people can delete it or whatever, but in your head while you're recording or after, you're thinking like, man, like, my episodes from 3 years ago, or 4 years ago when my first daughter was born, like we were talking about that, like joking around about, having my firstborn, like that stuff's still out there. And that's kind of cool. At the same time, it's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny that you mentioned that. I have a column, it's called Building a Legacy, and it comes out actually this Friday. And that's going to be the topic. Spoiler alert for everybody. It's something along those lines. So stay tuned.
A little tease there.
Look out for it. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome, Dale. Well, it's awesome to hear your backstory, man. It's awesome to hear a little bit about how Eat Sleep Fantasy kind of made its way up through the ranks, man. Whatever you guys do moving forward, I know it's going to be a smashing success.
Appreciate that, man.
I really do appreciate you sharing that with us tonight. Guys, we do have to get our listeners ready, though, because, it's flipping here, guys. Everything we've been talking about for the last 6-8 months, like it's go time, guys. Like the season is fucking here. Like I'm ready to go. Nate, I know you're ready to go, man.
I'm ready to go, man. I've been drafting so much Dynasty. I'm just like ready to do some redraft.
And Nate, I feel like we've also been playing a ton of Bestball this offseason.
Yeah. So Underdog is our newest sponsor. They are an amazing company. If you haven't played on Underdog yet, you're really missing out. They have quick, easy best ball drafts, which is a fantastic way to get ready for the season to prepare for your redraft leagues. But you actually have skin in the game. So it's not like the mock drafting where you get in there and you have somebody who drafts a kicker in the first round because they think it's funny. I did a mock draft, got in late to a mock draft yesterday that Cole Kmet from the Bears was hosting, and I got to watch but couldn't participate. He was doing it because he wanted to learn. This one guy drafted an entire team of Bears players and took Cole Kmet in the first round. So with best ball on Underdog, you don't get that. You get people who are serious about it because you have skin in the game. You can start at $3, go all the way up to, I think, 25 to 100 to 150. They also have prop bets where you can stack 6 props to win 20 times your entry fee. And like I said, contest starting at $3. It's a beautiful thing. If you haven't tried it yet, go to Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code IBT, and you can get $25 in free money to play on Underdog for a minimum deposit of $10. So head on over to Underdog Fantasy and don't forget to use the promo code IBT.
Risky business, or that fair to say. Are you that hard on the rise? We're chilling with a cold one, feeling bold one, or hold back. Would you rather? This ain't no simple matter.
All right, and we're back on the show, guys. Would You Rather has quickly become one of my favorite sessions here of the summer. I mean, we've been playing it all summer long with a bunch of different guests, been talking fantasy football, life. Would you rather? You know, we're answering that question that we've really been talking, whether it was our high school or college days. We're going to continue to do that here on the show tonight, guys. A lot of fantasy football news to get to, some good, some bad. I want to start with probably the most stunning. Over the weekend, we saw J.K. Dobbins in the first quarter of the Ravens game go down with a knee injury. Turns out it's going to be a season-ending injury for Dobbins. You know, first of all, hats off. I hope Dobbins recovers from this, guys. It's definitely always brutal. We've already seen, 3 talented running backs go down to season-ending injuries now before it even gets going. Hopefully Dobbins can recover, but as far as fantasy football goes, guys, looks like Gus Edwards. He's going to be the guy moving forward. There's a chance that the Ravens go out. They maybe sign a veteran. So here's the question, guys. Where are you drafting Gus Edwards? And like right now, we're working on finalizing our new projections. We had projection and rankings out earlier in the summer, but we're working on finalizing our new ones after all this news. Right now, I have Gus Edwards 1 spot above Miles Sanders. So I want to ask you 3 gentlemen, would you rather draft Gus Edwards at his current ADP, which there's no good ADP out there right now for Gus Edwards. Let's call it RB25. I think that's probably where he's going to land, somewhere around there. Miles Sanders right now, according to Sleeper's latest data within the last week, RB18. Kenneth Gainwell, he's been getting a lot of the 2-minute drills in practice in some of those preseason games as well. So we've seen that. Dale, I want to start with you, man. Would you rather draft Gus Edwards or Miles Sanders at current ADP?
I'm going with Gus Edwards, and the reason why is I think the floor for Gus Edwards is a little higher. I think he's going to get a ton of opportunity, a lot more opportunity to score. I'm not a big Miles Sanders guy to begin with. I think I had J.K. Dobbins around running back 20 or 18. Don't quote me on that, but I had him somewhere around there to begin with. I don't think Gus Edwards is as good as J.K. Dobbins. I'm putting Gus around RB 28, between 28 and 30. I think I last ranked him. So, and I have Miles Sanders worse than that. And I know that's not a popular opinion. I know a lot of people really like Miles Sanders, but I don't believe in him. I think Gainwell is gonna eat into Miles Sanders a little bit more than people think. So I'm taking Edwards.
Nate?
Well, I don't like either one of these guys. I'm not a Gus Edwards fan. I'm not a fan of that Baltimore backfield.
Yeah.
And it hurts my heart. It makes me want to puke in my mouth a little bit that I'm going to say Miles Sanders. But I'm going to, and the only reason is, I hear what you're saying, Dale, about Gainwell cutting into some of his productivity, and I do think you're right about that. But I still think that he's going to get more touches than Gus Edwards because Lamar Jackson is the RB1 there, and we can't deny that. And Justice Hill is there. I'm kidding. But I still think, and I think that they've added some receiver pieces there to where we're going to see Lamar running the ball a lot, and we're going to see Lamar throwing the ball more than we've seen him at least last season. People forget he had a really good year in 2019. He was very good. He was very accurate. He threw a lot of touchdowns. He's the guy in that offense. Miles Sanders, I think, is probably going to outscore him, and I'm taking Sanders.
Gary, where are you at on this, man?
I'm with Dale. I thought I was going to be the only dissenter on this. I thought everyone was going to be going with Miles Sanders, but yeah, I'm a Gus Edwards guy. I've had him on a lot of teams in Dynasty anyway, just kind of stashing him from when, rookie drafts and all that. I think he just doesn't. So I think, Nate, they both have, Jalen Hurts is a rushing quarterback too, from what we know. We've seen little of him, but, I think he's going to tuck the ball and run quite a bit as well. I just like who Gus has next to me. He has Justice Hill and Taysom Williams behind him. And then Sanders has Boston Scott, who I like quite a bit. And then, of course, Gainwell, who we've already mentioned. I just like the talent of Scott and Gainwell more so than Williams and Hill.
Yeah.
I mean,
if we say quarterbacks are equal, which they may not be, because, yes, Lamar Jackson has showed us he's rushing for 1,000 yards.
Well, obviously they don't trust Hurts. They just traded for Gardner Minshew.
Oh yeah, and that.
So let me ask you guys really quick: who's going to have more opportunity to score? Say in the red zone, who's going to have which running back is going to have more opportunity?
It's Gus Edwards.
No way.
I think
or Lamar Jackson. I mean, you don't. Who knows what's going to happen?
So that's the thing. It's going to be Lamar Jackson.
Which team is going to score?
If you actually look at Lamar Jackson, like last year, his rushing touchdowns, I think he only had one rushing touchdown inside the 15-yard line. So, like, most of his rushing touchdowns are long touchdowns. We kind of saw that with Michael Vick. He's not like a Cam Newton on the red zone or in the red zone, even kind of like a Josh Allen. I'm definitely with Dale and Gary in this one. Like, I think the opportunity, like, before this even happened, before the injury, I had Gus Edwards as an RB3, low-end RB3, but I thought he was still a sleeper. Gary, I know you had him as your sleeper in the IBT Media Draft Guide. So we were hot on him all offseason, and I already had him for 180 rushes. And I had J.K. Dobbins for about 202. So I think now, like, obviously you don't just move 202 rushes to Gus Edwards, but I think you split that up among what's left. Maybe Lamar Jackson gets a little more of a boost. Maybe they pass a little bit more too. But, I mean, Gus Edwards is easily seeing 250, maybe 300 carries this season. Like, I think the efficiency is coming down a little bit, but, like, it's been 5 yards per carry, but he's never been the feature back for a whole season. So I think it comes down a little bit, but I think overall, like, there's higher end, numbers. I just think with Gus Edwards, it's a safer floor. Maybe Miles Sanders has the PPR value, Nate. I know you're very strong in the PPR, so like I get that, but I think we'll end the debate on a agree to disagree here. But
do you see what happens when you go with Miles Sanders, kids? Don't do what I did. You get roasted on your own show.
All right, guys. Next question for you here. A little bit of lifestyle stuff. Would you rather watch an NFL game on an awesome patio, pool, we got a grill, hot tub, drinks going, or inside on a 100-inch TV? Nate, I know you actually watch most of your games on a 100-inch projector. So first one's to you. Would you rather keep your projector set up or TV set up or be chilling out by a pool?
Well, I can't watch 4 games at a time by the pool, so I'm saying I'm sticking with the 100-inch, man. I mean, the pool sounds nice, but for what we do, I need 4 games, baby.
Yeah. Gary?
So I'm in a unique position where I actually have a pretty awesome patio minus the pool and hot tub. And I also have a projector setup out there with a big 100-inch plus screen. So I could actually do both if I had to. But I'm with Nate. I'm inside. I'm not with the distractions. I want to sit in there and watch the plays and not, let my mind wander and to the fun.
Yeah, that's my problem. I let my mind wander to the fun. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go with sitting outside poolside. Look, for me, it's I need to be comfortable. The climate control is really important. So if it's a really nice night out and football's on, I'll be outside 100 times out of 100. But if I hate being a little bit too cold and I hate sweating. I'm really nitpicky about my weather, my climate, I guess.
You got to find your comfort zone.
Yeah. Like I mean I'll go to a bar every once in a while and watch some games that have multiple TVs, and that's a lot of fun. But then if it's too cold, then like I'm just miserable the whole time. So if it's a nice night, 100% I am going outside. But anything else, the size of the TV, it's not about the size, guys. It's about
the quality of the programming.
There you go. You know what it's about.
No, I'm with you there. I feel like college football to me is more like an outside thing. I feel like I can be a little like less attentive to college football. Like Nate said, I really do like to kind of dial myself in, especially like when you have red zone going or NFL package and you want to dive in. But like with college football, I mean, you can turn away, drink a beer, come back, and like they just came back from 21 points down. You know what I mean? That's kind of the beauty of college football a little bit. So I definitely enjoy like Saturday nights out on the patio and watching the game simultaneously there.
And you don't care where those 21 points came from because you're just say, okay,
Yeah.
cool, 21 points. If it was an NFL game, it's like who scored, who threw, who caught it,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Next question here. First, I want to acknowledge Nate because Nate and I have had a heated debate literally since before draft night. He has been on the Mac Jones hype train for a long time. I don't want to go into the backstory about how he got there, but the important thing is Mac Jones, he wins the QB battle. Cam Newton surprisingly released today. So I'm going to ask the question, would you rather draft Zach Wilson or Mac Jones? Nate, first of all, hats off to you, man, because you called this one. I didn't see it happening. I had Cam Newton projected out for 16 games this year. So, I mean, pie on my face. Congrats to you.
Yeah, and I accidentally deleted or erased my ranking. So there we go. So obviously I'm taking Mac Jones over Zach Wilson. I've been out on Zach Wilson from the beginning. He's a BYU quarterback. We haven't seen a good BYU quarterback. I think we talked about this the other day. We haven't seen a good BYU quarterback really since Steve Young. I just don't see it happening. Yes, I have also been drafting Mac Jones everywhere before this news came out. Shout out Mike Fiella at Daddy's Home FF, friend of the show.
For sure on that call.
He on the show with him last week, he called them releasing Cam Newton.
And he spelled out every single reason why, and it was perfect.
Yep.
I tried to get rid of Cam Newton in a couple of leagues after I saw that, and I wasn't able to move him until the news broke. So now I'm done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was because of Mike's.
I just, for me, and even if Zach Wilson hits, he's not going to hit this year the way that Mac Jones is going to hit. There's just no way. Mac Jones has so many tools around him to be a year one, like rookie of the year candidate, guy who takes his team to the playoffs. Who knows? He has everything there with an offensive coaching staff that can get him there. Rant over.
Playing devil's advocate here, Nate. Like I definitely think that Zach Wilson, I mean, they both played all the rookies, hats off to all of them. They've all played really good this preseason, but Zach Wilson might have, like, if you look at the tapes, played the best. Dale, where are you kind of on this debate right now? Obviously, they're probably both QB3s in your rankings, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Nate here. I mean, Zach Wilson just doesn't have the weapons that Mac Jones does. Zach Wilson doesn't have the coaching that Mac Jones does. I mean, just all around better situation. When we look at, say, Joe Burrow last year as a rookie, he had weapons, right? He had guy. I mean, he put up some good numbers as a rookie. If we're going to see that for a rookie this year, I'd much rather place my bets on Mac Jones doing the same thing with the weapons he has. I mean, Smith and Jacoby Myers and all those guys. 100 times better weapons. I mean, Zach Wilson has Corey Davis, and
Denzel Mims.
Yeah. I mean, they're no slouches. I get it. I'm not saying
right.
They are, but just the weapons are much more on the side of Mac Jones for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think new coach in New York too. Not that he's not going to pan out and be a great coach, but it's his first year.
Yeah,
I'll bet Belichick.
Me always.
Gary, any deciding thoughts? You want to be the loner here?
I don't actually. I was out on Zach from rookie scouting time. So yeah, and I did have the other guy high too. I only got him in a couple leagues, but I'm happy the ones I got him in now.
Okay, awesome. Moving forward, guys. A little bit there's been a lot of surprising cuts today. I think all around the NFL. One that kind of I woke up this morning to a little surprised. Brashard Perryman got cut earlier by the Lions. I had him projected for I think 88 targets, leading the receivers there. You guys know I've been sweating TJ Hawkinson all off season, so I'm sweating a little more today, a little more like heat check. But still, would you guys rather draft Armon St. Brown right now after this at current ADP or Jalen Reagor? Obviously, we know Jalen Reagor. He's a talented second-year receiver, but he had a great catch in preseason. We've kind of seen that all over the internet. But failed conditioning test here within the last week. Quez Watkins has emerged as looks like the slot guy there. Gary, start with you, man. Like I know you've kind of liked Armand St. Brown a little bit too this offseason. I feel like we all kind of have. I don't know if we're like a Lions podcast now, but like I might.
We better not be. I quit.
Yeah, I'm not really a Lions fan at all, but yeah, Amon is the guy that I'd go with here, and I think it's just mainly for the competition that he has. We've got he has Hawkinson, right, and then after that there's Tyrell Williams. I mean he was okay, and there's no real studs there, like Devonta Smith, and then Goddard, and even Zach Ertz. I'm not sure what happened to him, how his name fell off the. I mean, he's a little older and stuff, but I mean, if he's getting looks from, in the passing game, he could be a good value this year. So there's just a lot more competition, I think, in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, there is more competition. I'm really curious to see how Jalen Hurts ends up playing. I mean, we didn't get to see a lot of him. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. And
yep.
I think with Jalen Reagor, and maybe we could talk about this a little bit. I know the sleeper conversation is going to come up a little bit, but I think Reagor is going to be one of those guys that we talk about like mid-season, like, man, we heard his name a lot in the preseason. We should have bet on him more in the drafts. I have a feeling, there's always those couple guys, right? Like, he was on tip of my tongue every draft. I just didn't pull the chain. So I think Reagor is going to be one of those guys. So I'm going the Reagor side. I get it. There's a lot of competition there, but Hurts being a young quarterback, you never know who he's going to favor. And, Reagor's fast and talented.
Well, and I think, too, the quarterback on the other side of it kind of sways it for me, too. Like, I like Amon-Ra's talent a lot, but I don't like the fact that he's paired with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Because it's Jared Goff. And, like, what's their running game really going to be? Some people are higher on Swift. Some people are lower. I'm kind of in the lower camp. So now we're like, what's Jamal Williams going to do? And we've seen what happens when Jared Goff doesn't have a consistent run game. He has a problem spreading the ball out, and his offense is no good. And if that's what happens, I'm out on Amon-Ra. And it's not because I don't think he's talented. It's because I think that his quarterback situation is not as good as what Hurts is capable of in Philly. So I'm all Reagor on this.
I think the interesting thing here with St. Brown is I was pretty confident he was going to play that slot role, but now with Perriman gone, like it looks like it might be him and Tyrell Williams possibly on the outside, and maybe Quintez Cephas gets back into the slot. I don't know. It is a little bit of a mess in Detroit, but I definitely do hear what Dale's saying as far as Reagor. Like there's upside, but like I do worry that like does a breakout or maybe not a breakout, but an emergence of Quez Watkins and obviously Devonta Smith. Like they paid high draft capital for him. Like does that worry you at all that like might be after week 1 or 2, like Reagor was kind of like a waste of a 14th, 15th round pick.
Look, all these guys are going to be last round picks, right? I mean, you're just throwing a dart throw. I mean, you're
not losing your league with that pick.
You're not.
Right?
You're not. And,
right.
and
but you could win it.
It could help you win. I don't know if it's gonna win it for you, but yeah, I mean, definitely could be a tool in the tool chest there for you. I don't think that either of these. I mean, we're kind of fighting over. A coin flip here. I don't really see the significance of either in the end of the day, but
yeah.
All right, guys. Final question here. Would you rather have to watch football Sundays without eating the whole day? So no food. Food's always kind of a big thing in my house. I always get up early, cook something up good for Katie and I, or rather go without indulging in any delicacy. So I'm talking alcohol, tobacco, whatever else you enjoy. Of that nature. So no food, no alcohol, tobacco, etc.
Well, as you probably learned about me at the expo, I don't do anything. I have no vices. not one. I don't close down bars. I do none of that stuff. I remember everything that happened at the expo. So I'd probably go saying without eating, but only because we generally don't eat during the day anyway. We're intermittent fasters, which is a weird. Nope. I can go without my vices. I'll just eat. Actually, I like eating during football.
That's a turn.
I know. I started saying it and I thought I was like, Well, first of all, this makes me sound real bad. And second of all, part of the like joy of watching 4 games at a time in my basement with my wife is that we make like meatballs and queso dip and the crock pot and tacos and we have a huge popcorn machine down here, like almost like theater size. So yeah, I have to eat.
Almost got us. You almost got us there, Nate.
I know. I feel like Gary agrees with me.
So yeah, I think this one's an easy one for me. I was thinking about this a lot. No, I'm choosing food too. There's no way. I like to eat, man. There's no way I could get by a whole day without eating.
Well, and Connor just asked in the chat, I think it just popped up, like, how can you go watching football without beer? I have an almost 4-year-old child. My faculties have to be with me at all times when he is awake.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going food 100%. I'm not a big drinker anyways. I mean, socially, every once in a while, but 100% food for me.
Yeah.
Let's say you, Seth.
I think if I said anything differently, Katie would definitely not agree. She'd be gone getting some food by the 4:00 games for sure. So got to keep her happy wife, happy life.
There you go,
right, guys.
Plus, she'll bring it back and it'll smell good, and then you'll be even more hungry. Yeah, you got to be on the same page as Katie.
Yep. Absolutely, guys. We got time for one more segment. One of my favorite ones here on the show as well. We're getting some sure things, sleepers of the week. Let you know about some guys at the end of your drafts, or maybe not even drafted, that you want to pay attention to moving forward here.
It's the sure thing. Sleepers of the week.
All right.
We really needed to do the segment this week with the drop that has Cam Newton sliding out of the chair.
Oh, that would have been good.
That was a missed opportunity, man. Missed opportunity.
Yep. Guys, super happy to be doing some short things, sleepers of the week. This is one of my favorite in-season segments. Every week, we're going to give you guys some guys who are generally outside whether it's the top 36, 24, whatever it is. We're going to give you guys some sleepers that you should plug into your lineups each week. This week, I want to take the opportunity to talk about some night vision sleepers, some guys that aren't going in the drafts, or you can pick up before week 1, someone you can stash at the end of your bench. Maybe you don't draft a kicker, you pick up this guy instead. Nate, starting with you, man. Who are you heading with for your short thing sleeper of the week? The first one of the season. We're going to start keeping tally after this week too, so just be ready for that.
So people out here are going to think I'm a New England Patriots fan because I've got this Red Sox thing up here, and I'm going to tell you that my sleeper is Ramondre Stevenson. People are still sleeping on this guy, man. If you watched him at Oklahoma, he's kind of a bruising back, and it was pointed out to me tonight that Belichick likes to sit rookie running backs for a year, let them kind of simmer, learn the offense.
Yep.
I feel like Ramondre Stevenson is different, because with Mac Jones at quarterback, they lose that mobility. They weren't giving the goal line work to Damian Harris last season anyway. They drafted Stevenson for a reason. He was a steal in the 4th round, and I'm seeing him go at the very back end of redraft drafts now that I'm doing those more than Dynasty finally. And he's a steal, because you're getting him at the back end where you can take a chance on a guy, or he doesn't get drafted and you can waiver him week 1, week 2 when you're unhappy with another back. But I'm telling you, if you can get him at the back end of your draft rather than spending the fab on a guy who I'm pretty sure is going to hit, and better chance than not that the guy takes off at some point this season, starts getting some of that goal line work. He works well between the tackles, and he's a bruising back. He's big. He's 6 foot, 240. Knows what he's doing, can get involved in the passing game, and has good hands. I just don't see how he doesn't take off. And at the value you're getting him now, it's worth a shot.
And let's be honest here, in Belichick's team, Harris is one miss alarm clock away from, we never hearing from him again.
Right.
So you never know. You really don't. I think that's a pretty good pick at the end of the drafts for sure.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Have you guys ever played in leagues with sleeper keepers at all? Are you familiar with that?
Nope.
So that's when, your last 2 rounds of the draft, they're your keepers heading into next season if you keep them on your team. So we do a league every year, Battle the Belt. We have a belt that we pass around, kind of one of my home leagues, and we do sleeper keepers, 16th, 17th round. Someone got like Stevenson with like their last pick of the draft. So if they hold him all season, they get him next year for a 17th round pick. So just something cool. But I was like, Stevenson's like that. I was like, damn, that was probably good, better pick than mine.
Interesting. That's a pretty cool rule.
Yeah.
No, I like that. It makes things. I love any format that's different. That mixes it up and makes it fun.
Yeah.
Except Devi, but I do Devi too.
You seem almost ashamed, Nate.
It's so hard.
Dale, who you got for your sure thing sleeper of the week, man?
First of all, even if we give horrible advice, this podcast has some amazing transitions. It's just for the transitions, I want to stay and watch the entire podcast. So that they just make me happy. The shore thing, the water hitting the rocks, that was beautiful. Mine, and we kind of talked, maybe mentioned it, and to be honest, I'm not really sure if this is the right way to pronounce his name, but I think it's Tyson Williams, Ty-Son Williams, with the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly with Gus Edwards what exactly his role is going to be. The Ravens already mentioned that he could possibly be integrated into the offense somehow, some way that they're going to use him. And so, I mean, yeah, as a late pick, why not?
Would you take him over, like, obviously Justice Hill, like he's a known pass catcher, hasn't got much run in his career. Are you like him well over Justice Hill? Obviously, it seems like from beat reporters, he has that number 2 job.
It just, I mean, just for the upside, right? I mean, we know what Justin Hill can do or what he can't do. Tyson Williams, we have no idea. And I like those dart throws. I like the dart throws where it's all upside. And if it doesn't work out, and if we see nothing for all these picks, the biggest question here is, when do you let them go? When do you let go of Stevenson? How long do you hold them on for? Because there's going to be other waiver picks, and they're going to be the guys on the chopping block, right? Yeah. So that's probably the biggest question I have at all. After 3 or 4 weeks, I guess if he doesn't pan out, move a different direction. But yeah, I think Williams has a ton of upside here, only upside.
I like that pick.
It's kind of like one of those like Philip Lindsay's from a couple of years ago, a guy you might have not known, week 1, it inches closer and closer, and then all of a sudden there's a guy that emerges on a depth chart, and then here you go. So Dale, I like that pick as well.
Appreciate it.
All right, for me, I don't know if I like my pick as much as I like yours now that I've heard both of you guys, but I went with Tony Jones Jr. He's an undrafted free agent from Notre Dame, and he's right now it looks like he could be the number 2 in New Orleans. He's never going to be anything though if Kamara. He's just going to always be kind of the back guy. But Latavius Murray's, he usually gets like 650 yards or so and another couple hundred receiving and some touchdowns. If he can fill that role, maybe he's worth something on a flex, flex play. And if something, heaven forbid, would happen injury wise, then and he was the number 2 and he stepped in there. He could, from what I've seen, I mean, he's a good blocker and he got great vision. I mean, he runs the inside to the outside. He had good hands. I mean, everything, and the blocking stuff impresses me the most when the rookies come in here and they can pick up the blitzing safeties and stuff. And I was watching some video of him earlier today, and I was pretty impressed with what his preseason so far.
Well, and if he truly does overtake Latavius Murray, I think we're looking at a different run game in New Orleans this year because we've got Jameis Winston. So that changes the dynamic of that offense. It's not Taysom Hill. It's not Drew Brees. And 2, I think that Sean Payton's got to be looking at some of the workload he's given Kamara and then the injury last season. And maybe they're looking at, we need to kind of slim down his workload so that we have him all season and we're not stressing his body. So a guy like that, I mean, could provide RB2. If you have a third running back in your league, could provide some value there at some point during the season and a flex spot. Maybe not off the bat, but yeah, I like that call. And
you're gambling basically a waiver wire, one roster spot at the very end of your bench for the pleasure of it. Like Dale was saying, that is interesting. When do you cut him though? Like, the next shiny, guy is going to come up and you're going to be, oh my God, I got to jump on him. He had 200 yards this week.
Watch our show. We'll tell you when to drop him. Watch Eat Sleep Fantasy. They'll tell you when to drop him.
Hey, yeah, really quick, I want to put like a 1B on mine because I do have somebody that I feel is just as important. Quadri Allison, the Atlanta Falcons. We don't really know what Mike Davis is going to do yet. I mean, there's two camps. It looks like just looking at Twitter, right? People that love Mike Davis and people that hate Mike Davis. If you're in the camp that isn't sure and maybe you hate Mike Davis, Allison is a guy, that the door's open for him.
Yeah,
I just want to throw that out there.
I
don't have a lot of stats or anything on him, but
I've liked Olesen. Like he's a third-year back. I've liked him since he came out of Pitt. He was kind of the 1B there behind James Conner, took over when Conner came to the league. I was bullish on Olesen a few times in his career. I think he's still a decent running back, and for them to go ahead and cut the guys they did, I think they obviously trust Olesen. The only other guy there is Cordell Patterson, who's going to be in that wide receiver running back role that he normally is, kick returner, punt returner type of guy. So I think Olesen's a good guy. Jones is another one that I think we kind of have to pay attention to as well, just because like right now, like there's not a lot of pass catchers in New Orleans. Like, let's be honest, like stuff is just not going their way right now. And there's injuries all over the place. Marcus Callaway looks like he's going to be the number one. Traquan Smith, he's been battling some injuries lately. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see Kamara, maybe split out a little more, maybe play a little more slot. So I think that could maybe open. I mean, we always say this. We always think that there's going to be more two-back tandems than there is. I mean, I was a guy who loved Tariq Cohen for years because of the dual use with Jordan Howard. And it didn't always come to fruition, but sometimes it did. So I think, they've always wanted to go with that 1-2 punch, whether it was Mark Ingram or whether it was Latavius Murray. So, I mean, things look right now that he won that number 2 job, but I guess we'll have to see when the season comes, because you never know with Sean Payton. He's kind of a wild card down there as well.
He is kind of a wild card. Seth, I'm really excited to hear your reasoning for yours.
Okay, so this is a guy, no one is talking about him. And, if I'm in a 12-team league, maybe the last round I'm grabbing him. But if I'm in a 16-team league, I'm definitely drafting him. I'm kind of all over the place. It's DJ Dallas. And I know right now, if our one co-host Scott is at home, he's a Seattle guy. He's probably rolling around, just shaking, because he is such a big Chris Carson guy and such a big Rashad Penny guy. And I totally get it. Rashad Penny is the number 2 back, but I just don't. I mean, I was thinking maybe Rashad Penny would just get cut. I'll be honest. He's a talented guy. He is first-round draft capital. I get it. But at the end of the day, he's just not performed, and he's injured all the time. So, I mean, whenever DJ Dallas, I just think he's a good football player. He stepped in very, very valid last season, had 2 rushing touchdowns, had a receiving touchdowns, and limited work when Carson was gone. So, I don't know. I think he's a good player. This preseason, we haven't seen him get a lot of run, so that's a little concerning. But every time he's on the field, whether it's blocking a punt or whether it's catching a pass and just making a good play, I think DJ Dallas is just a good player. So he's a guy that I'm willing to roster week 1, and maybe Rashad Penny gets in the doghouse again, and someone's going to get that third down back roll. And I'm just not convinced in Rashad Penny yet, but maybe that's just me.
I'm not convinced on Rashad Penny either. I don't know that I'm convinced on DJ Dallas. I don't know that I'm convinced on the Seattle run game in general, because Carroll keeps saying we're going to run the ball more, and they never do it. So we'll see. If they do run the ball more, I like this call, Seth.
Yeah. Interesting. It's not a guy that's even on my radar. Now he is, but that's a good name.
That's what we're here for.
Deep cuts with IBT Media.
There you go.
Until the end of the season, you're like, you gave me all these guys that didn't pan out. What's wrong with you?
And like Dale was saying earlier, we can find this video, Seth, and show it to you.
Yeah, we'll find it.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, real quickly, we do have a little bit of time left in the show. So I just want to go around and something we do every off season is we do our 50 tips for a better fantasy football season. We had that included in our draft guide. I just want everyone to throw out a tip. I got a couple redrafts coming up. I know a couple more people have some redrafts coming up these next couple weeks. I'll kick this one off, guys. My biggest tip for the 2021 fantasy football season to make it the best you can is be inclusive in your leagues. Whether that's asking a friend who's never played before or a friend who hasn't played in a while, or whether that's asking your girlfriend or your sister or your mom, like whatever it is. Last season, I asked our audio editor Kyle to come play, and he's played before, but he hadn't played in many leagues. I asked him to join 2 leagues. He's hooked now. My girlfriend Katie last year It was her first year playing. She joined her office league. She joined our in-between media league. This year she was playing in Scott Fishbowl. I think she has like 7 or 8 leagues now. And she's like, why
Nice.
did I?
She's a junkie now. Oh no, Seth, what have you done?
Exactly. But I mean, it like just having those experiences with her, like getting to experience drafting Scott Fishbowl or any of these other fun drafts we've been getting to experience this summer has been one of the most joyous things that I've ever done in fantasy football. So if I could give any advice, whether you have an open spot in your draft this year or something to consider for next year, let's just be inclusive moving forward, guys. I think it's a big thing we need to work on in this space as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. When we've seen it, I mean, if you're a part of Twitter and you're a part of the fantasy football community, you've seen how uninclusive of a space it can be at times, but it can also be a very, very, very inclusive space.
Yeah.
I love what you said, Seth. Let's be inclusive. And you know what? Let's not worry so much about what other people are doing with their rosters and their teams. If you're here to give advice and you're an analyst and you're doing your columns and your podcast, you give the advice, and that's great. Do that. But if you're just someone who's out there, don't worry about what other people are doing. Know that you did your own work, and you don't have to come down on even a league mate in the chat. Like, why would you make that pick?
We got to talk a little bit of shit.
I mean, you do, sure, but like you also don't have to be super rude about it. And like home leagues are different than some of like the industry leagues that we play and whatnot. But remember, this is supposed to be fun. We're playing a fake game based on a sport on another game.
Yep.
That adults get to play that we played on a playground when we were kids. So remember that. Like, this is just, and I know there's money involved and some of this stuff is high stakes, but at the end of the day, this is a game. And if you're not having fun doing all of this, what are you even doing?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to piggyback with you, Nate. Both great points. So I kind of have two. I'm going to do two really quick instead of just one long one.
You can take mine, Dale.
The first one is, piggybacking on what Nate just said. Don't be afraid to, even if you're in a ton of leagues and, you like to play for money, and that's great. I think all my leagues, are have some kind of dues. But don't be afraid to play for fun. Like, it's okay to, join in with your 11 other broke friends and play for $10 or free. So many people have such a stigma about, there's none. I've been told this a couple times this year, and this is why I'm bringing it up. There's not enough skin in the game for me to really pay attention to it. It's like, I don't really know how to talk people into it, but don't be afraid to just play with guys that, maybe you wouldn't normally play. Maybe you guys can start a home league together for years. You never know. So yeah, for sure. That would be the first one, is don't be afraid to, play for free. The second one, talking about tips, is know your rules as far as filling out rosters. I've done so many drafts already, and this has been a constant conversation. And I don't know, it wasn't brought up as much as it was this year for me, but a lot of people aren't filling up, their defense and kickers, and are drafting other people just to hold up until week 1, and they'll drop, it's basically 2 extra roster spots, right? If you don't care about kicker and defense, don't have to draft them. I think that's a great strategy as long as your league allows it. So, figure it out. And especially if you're in late rounds and, there's the defenses are taken that you really wanted, and, you're picking in the bottom barrel anyways. Kickers don't matter. I know I probably offended some people, but they don't. So, take those last 2 picks. If you don't have to fill up your entire roster, take those last 2 picks and, get somebody like, we just mentioned here. And then wait until right before week 1. If there's no hype on them, then drop them and pick up a defense and kicker. At least you can have that little bit of flexibility. So those would be my 2. Yeah.
Yep. I love that.
I love it as well. Mine's kind of similar to what Seth and Nate were saying. When I started playing fantasy football just to network with people that I worked with, we had something to talk about in the break room. We got a little closer, and some of those people now I've known for 20 years, and I went to lunch with 2 of them the other day. We're still in leagues together, and it's because we just started playing together. We had something in common, and it was something outside of work. We all work at a different place now, and we're still all friends, and we still get together. So the networking for me, just getting to know people, that I'm in some Twitter leagues, and just like, I feel like the people when you play with those in the same league as people, you just have something more in common. You have the bond, and I'm all about that, the relationship building part.
For sure.
Yeah, I love that.
And those are no money leagues too, like you were saying, Dale. So that that's fine with me. I got plenty of money tied up everywhere else, so I'd just as soon play for no money as well.
Awesome. Without this game, guys, I wouldn't have met any of you, so I'm thankful for it. Gary, I'm thankful for that advice. I'm thankful for all the advice shared tonight, guys, whether it's fantasy football, Dale sharing your story with us, the story behind Eat Sleep Fantasy. Dale, what do you guys have coming forward that our listeners, our viewers tonight should be attentive to moving forward here?
We're just going to keep doing it. We're going to keep ranking, keep helping everybody, similar to what you guys are doing. It's, it's nothing special. It's, just a different take on it. That's a horrible way to sell a podcast, I know. But it's like, oh, nothing. We're not really special. We're not, though.
You've got my attention.
I've subscribed. I've followed and subscribed. So
appreciate that.
You got a couple fans from coming
good
on.
deal. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, we're just going to be, doing the thing. Trying to have fun. Play fantasy football, help everybody out. I think I was talking to you, Seth. The community itself, just fantasy football in general, but also the community that we built with Eat Sleep Fantasy is unreal. It's really cool to see friendships blossom, people, listeners, becoming friends. It's actually really, really cool. Probably the best part about having a podcast is building those relationships. So, yeah, I don't remember what your question was, but yeah, we're going to do cool stuff this year. So eatsleepfantasy.com or eatsleep
awesome.
on Twitter. Yeah.
Awesome. Dale, we will be following along. Listeners, viewers, make sure you check out Eat Sleep Fantasy. Dale, hope to have you back here another time, man. Thank you for all the advice tonight. Nate, Gary, thank you for your time as well. And like Dale said, the best part of doing this is interacting with everyone out there who's been following the show for the last few years, who's been following the website. We appreciate all the reads. We appreciate all the likes, all the subscribes, guys. It's been overwhelming at times, and we're excited to do it for you on a full scale. We got columns coming out Monday through Saturday moving forward. We got a podcast coming out each week as well. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be a wild ride. We're going to be back next week with week 1 of the fantasy football season for 2021. Until then, guys, keep it in between.
The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
So one thing that really sets us apart here is we're not afraid to talk about other things that maybe aren't super fantasy related.